What if I told you that some family secrets are buried for a reason? Tonight, I'm sharing a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about inheritance. This isn't about money or property. This is about a legacy that should have stayed buried. Let me take you into the mind of Sarah, a 28-year-old software engineer from Chicago. She was the kind of person who explained away every strange noise, every shadow in her peripheral vision. Logic ruled her world until she inherited something that would shatter every rational thought she'd ever held. Sarah's grandmother Vera had passed away 3 months earlier. They weren't close. Vera lived in what Sarah called the middle of nowhere, a remote village in the Carpathian Mountains where cell towers were myths and the nearest neighbor was miles away. When the lawyer called about the inheritance, Sarah almost declined. But curiosity won, as it always does. The journey to reach Vera's estate took 2 days of increasingly narrow roads. Pine forests pressed against the car windows like ancient guardians protecting secrets. The village itself felt frozen in time. Stone cottages with smoke curling from chimneys, elderly faces peering through lace curtains, and an unsettling silence that seemed to swallow sound. Vera's manor stood at the village's edge, a 3-story structure of weathered stone and dark timber. Sarah pushed open the heavy wooden door and the scent hit her immediately. Lavender mixed with something she couldn't identify, something earthy and old. The house groaned with every step. Dust particles danced in shafts of pale sunlight filtering through grimy windows. Sarah spent her first day cataloging belongings, but it was on the second evening that everything changed. She was exploring the attic when her flashlight beam caught something wedged behind a loose floorboard. It was a leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. Vera's handwriting filled every page in fading ink. Sarah read by lamplight, and with each page, her skepticism crumbled like old parchment. The journal detailed a ritual passed down through 5 generations of women in their bloodline. According to Vera's words, their family was bound to an ancient curse, something that had haunted their village for centuries. The ritual wasn't just tradition, it was a containment spell, performed every generation to keep something terrible from awakening. Sarah's hands trembled as she read the final entry, dated just days before Vera's death. The old woman had grown too weak to perform the ritual. She'd written desperately about passing the responsibility to Sarah, about the abandoned chapel in the forest where the ceremony must take place. Tonight, at midnight, Sarah wanted to dismiss it as the ramblings of a sick elderly mind. But as darkness fell, strange things began happening. The temperature in the house dropped noticeably. Shadows seemed to move independently of their sources. And outside, she could swear she heard whispers carried on the wind. At 11:30, Sarah made a choice that would haunt her forever. She gathered the ritual items Vera had hidden in the cellar: candles, herbs, and an ornate silver blade that felt ice cold to the touch. Her rational mind screamed that this was madness, but something deeper, something ancestral, drove her forward. The forest path was barely visible in the moonlight. Fog rolled between the trees like ghostly fingers, growing thicker with each step. Sarah's flashlight beam seemed to be swallowed by the mist, creating a bubble of visibility that extended only feet ahead. The chapel emerged from the fog like a fever dream. Stone walls covered in moss and ivy, a collapsed section of roof revealing the star-filled sky above. Gothic windows stared down like hollow eyes. Sarah's breath formed clouds in the suddenly frigid air. Inside, broken pews lay scattered across a floor carpeted with decades of fallen leaves. An altar dominated the far end, its surface stained with something that looked disturbingly like dried blood. Sarah's hands shook as she arranged the candles according to Vera's instructions. The church bell began to chime. Impossible, since Sarah could see the bell tower was damaged beyond repair. Yet the sound rang clear and haunting across the valley. 1 chime, 2, 3. As she lit the candles, Sarah noticed movement in her peripheral vision. shapes emerging from the fog outside the broken windows. By the sixth chime, she could see them clearly, figures in dark hooded robes moving with purpose toward the chapel. 7 chimes. 8. 9. The hooded figures filled the doorway now, silent as death itself. Sarah tried to speak, to demand answers, but her voice caught in her throat. These weren't villagers coming to help or interrupt. Their presence felt ancient, patient, as if they'd been waiting for this moment for decades. 10 chimes. 11. Sarah raised the ceremonial blade with trembling hands, following Vera's instructions even as terror paralyzed her thoughts. The hooded figures stepped closer, forming a perfect circle around the altar. In the candlelight, she caught glimpses of faces beneath the hoods, pale, gaunt, with eyes that reflected light like polished stones. 12 chimes. The bell's final note hung in the air as the last hooded figure stepped forward, lowering their hood to reveal a face that made Sarah's blood freeze. It was Vera, but not as Sarah remembered her. This version of her grandmother smiled with too many teeth, her eyes black as midnight. And that's where Sarah's story takes a turn that I can't share with you tonight. Some endings are too dangerous to speak aloud, too powerful to release into the world. But I will tell you this: inheritance isn't always about what you gain. Sometimes it's about what you become. But if you think an inherited curse can warp your reality, wait until you see a mansion built by guilt itself, where every twisted hallway was designed to trap the restless dead. In our previous video, we unraveled the legend of the Winchester Mystery House, why this mansion hunted its own builder. Click now to discover how Sarah Winchester's obsession turned her home into the ultimate prison for both the living and the souls she couldn't escape. The link is on screen and in the description below. Don't just survive the night, dare to explore the horror within.